Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kathleen Busibori. For those ones who are new to the channel, kindly subscribe, share your opinion and your ideas in the chat box, and always reach out for us for any ideas or ways of improving our presentation. For the those viewers who have been giving us support all through, I want to say I really appreciate you so much. Kindly continue bringing the suggestions in. In this channel, we discuss issues to do with security, terrorism, criminality, gender, violence, or any other pressing issue that is actually facing the global south. So please subscribe, leave your comment, share, and sometimes you realize that actually you are my very, very good follower, but you forget to subscribe. So please look at the subscription button and see if it is gray. If it is gray, then it means you have subscribed. But if it's not gray, like it is red, then it means that you have not subscribed. Kindly hit that red button and help us to grow, support us, share with your friends, and let's keep the conversation going. So today, there is a very, very interesting topic, and this topic is about the relationship between the media and terrorism, or basically what I call the holy and unholy alliance between the media and terrorism. And the topic came as a result of um, individuals asking me, what could you comment about the role of the media in terms of either creation of awareness, reducing, or even amplifying information about terror groups, or even supporting terror groups. Now, from my point of view and where I'm standing, I come first with the idea that the relationship between the media and terror organization and criminal groups can be both positive and negative at the same time. So I start with the positive side. And in this case, when I'm talking about the media, I'm looking at the media houses and the social media platforms. So if I go with the media houses first and I look at the works that are being done by, for example, investigative journalists, going to greater heights of bringing us documentaries and information about the sociology, the operation, and the activities of failures criminal groups and terror groups, and then you find that that information is very, very important to the security agencies and the public in terms of knowing what's happening outside there. Many of these journalists have to endure a lot of risks, and they have to go as undercover, sometimes pretending to be one of the supporters or even the criminal, like one of the criminal members of the criminal groups, to bring us information. So when it comes to the positive side of the media and it is relationship with terrorism and violence, I can say that the media has proved to be a very, very nice source of information about even some violent groups and some terror groups that people initially thought that its information cannot be assessed. And this one has been made possible because of the major aims of terror groups or criminal groups. Most of these groups want to be known, as I've always said from my previous presentations, that most of these terror groups want to be known. They want the information to spread across the world. So such, I think, gives them the motivation to cooperate with the media people or the investigative journalists in terms of giving them information. But again, the question that we raise is, how authentic is the information that our investigative journalists get from the terror groups and then hear it out to the public? So it takes a lot of energy, I understand, and it takes a lot of process to actually come out and say this is authentic and this is not authentic. Because also terror groups, in as much as they want information, they like to be known outside there, they are also not stupid, or they are not that naive to give to the world the sensitive information, perhaps on their training, or maybe where they put their guns, or how do they plan their attacks and so forth. And that's why sometimes you find that almost in all those documentaries, there is some information that may be missing in terms of how do they plan for attacks and how do they execute it, how do they train, how do they recruit? Because the question of how is normally missing authentically from the most of the documentaries that we get, although the question of why is always outside there, and it has been greatly answered by the media houses. So I can only say that some of the information that the investigative journalists provide about terror groups in terms of documentaries, in terms of special reports, in terms of series is very, very important. And an authentic intelligence service can be able to take that information and dig deeper into the terror organization under reporting. And from there, they can be able to get a lot of information that can even help them when it comes to counterterrorism and counter-violence strategies. So that's what I can talk about, the positive relationship between the media and terror organization. However, I'm very clear that it is very important that we receive the authenticity of the information that journalistic investigations give in terms of these terror groups, because these terror groups may not at times give you all the information, especially on the question of how, especially when they know that you are going to hear maybe that information and it can reach the hands of failure security agents. They may give you another information, but the question of the how in terms of their operation and in terms of their training becomes, and even their technology becomes somehow secretive to them. Number two, about the negative relations, and this is the center of this discussion, that there is a very, very bad relationship, or like the media is really playing a very, very great role when it comes to giving information to terror groups and even curtailing counterterrorism measures. And I want to start from this particular point. Both the media and the terror organization have one single connection. This connection is regards to large audience. Both of them target a large audience. When you look at the terror groups, they target a large audience to have a greater impact. When you look at the media, they target a large audience so that they can be able to get more income. So at the center, at the converging point of these two entities is a factor about audience. So for the terror groups, they will hit a larger audience for them to get the impact. But for the media groups, all the media houses, they have pick something sensitive and highly catchy in their reporting to attract a large audience. So this then begins the major problem, and how the media is actually accelerating terror activities all giving information to terrorists, all curtailing counterterrorism strategies with or without their knowledge. So it begins first with reporting. You realize that, for example, if an attack has taken place somewhere, the media is always on the ground, reporting on everything that is happening. Like, they report where the rescue has reached, how many have been rescued, how many anticipated terrorists are maybe in the building. Like, they report what is the government doing, where are the the rescue team, the details of the rescue teams on the ground. For example, if it's in Kenya, you will hear the media will tell us about the rescue squad, tell us about the KDF. They will tell us about all these response units when it comes to rescue. And sometimes they go as far as even sharing some photos of the rescue team in the field, in the process of rescuing the people. What this media forgets is it's not only the non-combat innocent citizens across the world who are watching this news. The terror organizations are also depending on this news and use those particular news to direct their people on the ground on how to evade from maybe the building, how to bring confusion to the groups that are responding to the attack, and eventually run away. So you realize that because the media wants to catch attention, of course, if a media house today reported that, oh, there's a terror attack in Nairobi, everybody will want to listen what's happening in Nairobi. Like, everybody will want, for example, to listen. And in so doing, the media could have gained its viewers and its income. But at the same time, that reporting could have offered information to the terror groups to rearrange themselves and find a way of escaping. Number two is about how the media reports about arrests of terror suspects. I'm not saying that we should move to a situation whereby there is lack of media freedom, but I'm looking at a point of the kind of information or the sensitivity of information that our media houses shares to the outside world. You realize that sometimes terror suspects have been arrested. What is very funny is you'll find that the media houses comes out, they tell us where like these terror suspects have been arrested. They even give us the faces of these people. They even give us the places where they have been arrested and maybe where they have been remanded. And sometimes they even tell us when these people will be arraigned in court. So you see, this is it's a very complicated multi-dichotomy of risks that are involved. Number one, if it is a terror organization, for example, let me say, Al-Shabaab has dispatched its people to go and carry out an attack in Nairobi or anywhere in East Africa. And in the process, these people, the group or the bombing group has been arrested before that time, or the group transporting the weapons that are supposed to be used has been arrested. So when you go out reporting this information that, oh, these people have been arrested, they are affiliated to Al-Shabaab and so forth, already you have informed Al-Shabaab that, number one, the mission has not been successful. And this information, if you never reported, it could have taken maybe 2 to 3 days for Al-Shabaab to learn that actually the mission has been aborted or it cannot take place, and therefore delay their reaction tactics and reaction decisions. But because you have told them already what has happened, they will even maybe tell those ones who had already entered the country to find a way of running away. In that case, even these ones who have been arrested, even if they say that we are with so and so, that so and so has been mentioned will not be found within the country. Because of the reporting, already they have been wired and they have fled away. And then number two is when somebody is a terror suspect, it's very sensitive. And then you bring these images to the media. And the question is, what if this person turns out to be innocent? Already an image has been tainted. And therefore, integrating this person back to the society is not easy because of the stigmatization that comes with association with terror groups. So, in a way, this person, the only option they may have is then to join that terror group. Number one, out of revenge, and number two, out of the frustration, because not everybody is likely to live with that stigma in the society being called a terror suspect. And this, when you trace that, you realize that it is a very small mistake that the media did when reporting about these cases. So you see how the reporting of arrests of individuals and even giving information where they have been arrested, it also puts the security people, all the security officers in these facilities at a danger position. How can you arrest a terror suspect and tell the terror organization where this person has been arraigned or where this person has been remanded, for example? There's a very big probability that the terror organization may react by going either to bomb that facility or look for ways to break through that facility to rescue one of their own to avoid sharing of sensitive information to the government. So sometimes how we even report about these arrests actually puts the security people and the security facilities at an insecure situation and a vulnerable situation, because then we expose them and we don't know what will happen next. What if the terror groups react? And another thing is how the media amplifies information about terrorism. We all know that, of course, terrorism is very dangerous. Terrorists are very dangerous people. But you realize that a small thing, for example, sometimes it's not even, let me say, a terror attack, or it's not like a terror plot, but we have fake news and fake media that takes a small thing that has happened, let me say, for example, in the northern part of the country, which of Kenya, for example, which is more has more proximity to Somalia, where Al-Shabaab actually are. Or something small has happened in the coastal region, or something small has happened in the capital city. You realize that we amplify it so much, and we start we make it look huge in a way that by the end of the day it's like we are glorifying that terrorism. You know, sometimes when you are speaking about Satan so much, it's like you are glorifying that Satan. So it's the same thing. You realize that something small has taken place, and sometimes this something small is something that the government agencies and the concerned bodies, if they can sit down, it's something that they can be able to handle. But because our media houses and people need more likes and more audience, they amplify it so much that it becomes a huge thing, and it even sends threats to the citizenry. People start panicking, people go on posting, some others even post what they don't understand. And that gives rise to aspects of social media circulation of fake information. I remember there's a time way back last year when people were circulating information that the following institutions and places and malls are a target by Al-Shabaab. And this information kept on circulating. People were living in fear. And I remember that thing was not nice. And the same thing applies to, I think, in 2017, 2018. There was also an aspect whereby people were circulating fake news about institutions and places that were to be attacked. And this gave rise to issues whereby I remember there was one institution in Kenya University where there was this electric fault and there was this boom. So students thought like it was actually the terror attack that they had already read in the internet, and this caused a stampede, and some students, I think 2 or 3 students died. So you see, that is what fake news and amplifying of some I can say unfounded information can cause in terms of terrorism. And finally, it's how the media presents terror suspects in terms of guilty or not guilty. And this one, I don't want to talk much about it because I intend to speak much about it when I'll be talking about the media, gender, and violence. But you realize that many times, for example, if a government went and did a crackdown, the police officers went and did a crackdown, and maybe held or arrested some terror suspects, the media is never very clear to come and tell us why these people were arrested, how they were arrested, and what, like, the background that informs that arrest. But many times what we see are images of young women are being put in the front pages of newspapers, all women holding children, and crying that their husbands, their sons, or their daughter, or all their kins have been taken away by the government. They have been left as maybe orphans, they have been left childless, they have been left without husbands, and so forth. So the media focuses more on presenting the some actors in violence and terrorism as intrinsically vulnerable and intrinsically peaceful. So you realize, for example, if it's a woman who has been caught as a terror suspect, how that story would be presented is not the same way that story would be presented when the suspect is a man. Because we've taken it so naturally that only men can be suspects. So a woman will be presented, for example, in terms of the wife to a terrorist. It could be presented a bride to a terrorist. And there's that aspect of vulnerability that is presented in that case. So when you look at that trend of media reporting, it explains why most terror groups nowadays and criminal groups have a lot of female actors in them. And these women are playing a very, very huge role in terms of combatancy, in terms of transportation of weapons, in terms of acquiring the things that are needed for the bombing, in terms of even doing the surveillance and intelligence collection, because it's not like the way they have been presented by the media to the public. They have always been presented and interpreted that women are not violent, they cannot be terror suspects, and if they are caught in such a situation, they are only there because they have been forced, or they are victims of circumstances. So with that, you realize that there is a growing recruitment of women into criminal groups and terror groups. And these women are playing a very big role in terms of preparing for attacks, preparing for collection of intelligence, and even doing suicide bombing. And we are still yet to accept that's happening. So it's like we are giving terror groups a curtain to hide behind in terms of promoting the activities because of gender skewed and gender primed media reporting about terror suspects. So that's my take today. I don't want to empty much about the media, gender, and violence and terrorism. It will be a discussion maybe for on Tuesday or on Wednesday. I look forward for your great inputs about that because it's a highly contested thing. How does the media present women and male suspects in terms of terror and criminality? So for today, what I can only say is that there's a very close relationship between the media and terrorism, and the two converge at a point of audience where part of them relies on the bigger audience to have their goals attained. And this relationship can be both positive and negative. I call upon the governments of the world to focus on the positive relationship, see what can be extracted from the documentaries and the series some credible journalists have done, investigative journalists have done in terms of these groups, and see how that information can be used to promote counterterrorism measures. On the negative side, I call upon the media to look at what they hear in terms of terrorism and violence across the world. Don't give information outside there that curtails counterterrorism measures, all makes it possible for the terrorist organizations to know what the governments are planning against them. Be good ambassadors, and let's all work together towards the war against terror. Thank you so much. Keep subscribing, leave your comments, let's share, and more importantly, hit the notification bell so that next time I will be live, you will get the information. Please subscribe, and let's meet next time. Remember, security begins with you and me. It's your personal responsibility. Before we call upon the government, let's start by ourselves. Thank you so much.